Shantiranthariksham Shanti Prithvi Shanti Roshadhaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishve Deva Shantir Brahma Shantir Sarvam Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi. Let there be peace in heaven, on earth, in the celestial beings, in the trees, mountains and valleys, everywhere. And let there be peace in the hearts of all. Now we are beginning the online session of the Bhagavad Gita. So I shall, as we normally do, I shall begin with the Mangalacharanam, the hymns of meditation. Om Parthaya Pradibodhidam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gradhidam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaidamritavarshinim Bhagavadim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marudastunnandi Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sankapatakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam Navidusura Suraganah Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So, we are going through some difficult times. The health crisis created by the spread of coronavirus and all other related problems. But Vedanta teaches us that we have some inherent power within all of us that will help us to confront all these external challenges, including mental stress, anxiety, fear of the unknown, the unpredictable. So we do have some inner spiritual power inherent in all of us, which is our true nature, which will help us to confront and transcend, go beyond all these problems which come from time to time. So today I am dealing with the 26th and 27th verses of the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We did discuss briefly the 26th verse in the last session. So today we are going to discuss the 26th and 27th one. 26th we will complete. The 26th verse is very important. Na buddhivedam jinayet ajñanam karma sankinam joshayet sarvakarmani vidwan yukta samacharan. So it's a very important and psychologically very profound observation that you find in this text. Lord Krishna says, we should not impose upon anybody a very high spiritual principle all of a sudden without making some preparations. So he's referring to the concept of yajña that we discussed in the last sessions. Whatever we do will have some impact on our character, on our life. But when we do our duties and responsibilities with the idea that it is a yajña, it is a noble act, it is an action for the good of the world, not only for our own individual goods, but also for the good of the world, then we get a tremendous spiritual contentment, inner tranquility and peace. And this is actually the psychological aspect of karma yoga. But Lord Krishna says, we should not suddenly start this process all of a sudden. Because normally our actions are not determined by our will or our intention, but rather our actions are guided and prompted by certain inherent forces of nature, which is called Prakriti. So, what we do is frequently decided by our mental constitution, which is constituted by vrittis, vasanas, samskaras, impressions, tendencies, all accumulated in our mental system. That's why frequently, though we want to do wonderful things, we are not able to do that in reality. Our Prakriti will drive us in another direction. So Lord Krishna says, when you try to practice this karma yoga, we should not do this all of a sudden. To give an example, suppose a businessman who has to prepare some important plans, he has to plan his actions, he has to prepare he has to meet a deadline, and he should make some elaborate preparations, a sense of goal, a goal to be achieved, a target to be met. All these are naturally part of our actions. Now, suppose if a person who is driven by strong ambitions, strong drives, the determination to succeed, if he suddenly starts practicing karma yoga, if all of a sudden one day morning he starts practicing this yajña, this karma yoga, then it creates a vacuum in his mental system. It creates a voidness in his mental system. He won't be able to do anything. Suddenly he may feel, well, he is meeting a dead stone wall. So that's why Lord Krishna says in the same text, Shanai Shanai Uparamed. So we should do it gradually. When we deal with our mind, we should not take abrupt decisions, and we should not suddenly change our course of actions. We should do it slowly. We should first of all feed our mind with spiritual food so that mind slowly becomes mature enough. It becomes ready for higher spiritual practices. So that's when buddhi vedam janiyeda jnanam karma sankinam. Joshiye sarva karmani vidva yuktas samacharan. So one should not unsettle the mind, the mental constitution of another person by preaching karma yoga. A student studying hard for examination, he should be encouraged to study well, work hard, and attain a very high grade in his examinations. A businessman should be encouraged to succeed. A factory worker should be encouraged to do his best through honest hard work to succeed. And after some time, we reach a point where we start thinking of the success that we have already attained. Then we find that the success never really makes us permanently satisfied. Why? In spite of having achieved all that we want, frequently we do not get inner contentment. That's because something else is needed. At that stage, you suddenly realize the need to practice karma yoga. So we need action, but we also need a spiritual content in that action. That makes that transforms karma into karma yoga. So there's a gradual evolution in this process in our own spiritual growth. So that's a very, very significant psychological point that Lord Krishna explains here. That's why in Vedantic tradition, unless we make some preparations, unless we go through some preparatory stages, unless we attain spiritual fitness, we won't even be able to understand the true implication of many of the scriptures, really speaking. Because the scriptures are words, and how we understand the true implication of these words, we deal with higher inner spiritual life and experiences. Unless our mind is ready, we won't be able to understand even intellectually the true implication of spiritual ideas. Sri Ramakrishna taught the greatest spiritual philosophy to the world. But you can't say that, though it is so universal, it is accessible to everyone, it can be easily practiced by everyone, still every person may not be able to understand it properly. It would happen. So depending upon our own spiritual fitness, we understand the meaning. So there is a gradual evolution that is needed. So in Vedanta we say sadhana chatushtayam and sravana, manana, nididhyasana. We should first of all have a definite understanding of what is real, what is unreal. In fact, this is not only in Vedanta, even in civilized, mature human life, this is very important. Let us say this health crisis you are facing today. Frequently, I read in some articles that this health crisis could create certain mental problems. People may suddenly become hypersensitive, and unknown fear, they may be infected, all these problems arise. This is something that we cannot avoid. But the point is, we should remember that this is part of nature's evolution. The human civilization has gone through several stages of evolution. And in many eras, many stages, human civilization had to face world wars, genocides, the Black Death, plagues, and innumerable types of diseases, catastrophes, cataclysms, genocides, massacres, and so on. But still human civilization marches forward. But when we are going through that crisis, we may not always remember that this crisis is a part of a passing phase. Maybe within a few months it will be over. That we forget. So we may, when we get mentally stressed, we may perhaps be under the wrong notion that this is going to be a permanent problem. It is not going to be a permanent problem, because human history, human civilization had gone through many, many innumerable such problems and bounced back, confronted them successfully and bounced back in course of time. So, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka is a basic human concept. It's the first step to human freedom and human wisdom. A correct understanding as to what is real and what is unreal. What really matters, my life on a permanent basis, and what is part of a passing phase which may come today and may disappear tomorrow. And then a sense of renunciation of the unreal, the certain mental disciplines, and a strong desire for the higher transcendental wisdom we call mumukshutvam. So Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka Ihamutra Phala Bhoga Viraga Samadhi Sarka Sambhati Mumukshutvam. These are the four disciplines that Shankaracharya elaborates in the Viveka Chudamani as the four fundamental disciplines for understanding Vedanta, for understanding higher spiritual ideas, for understanding higher principles of civilized living. And then feeding our mind with spiritual ideas, saravana, and then contemplation, meditation, and thinking of the transcendental. These are some of the disciplines mentioned in this scripture. So that's why Lord Krishna says, "Na buddhivedam janayet." We cannot start spiritual life all of a sudden. We can only slowly evolve. The next verse is very important, 27. That asks a fundamental question. What is our nature? What is the true nature of a human being? Are we part of Prakriti? Prakriti means nature. Are we something beyond matter? So I shall read the verse. It is technically very important. Prakritehi kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvasakha ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. This is the verse. The gunas of Prakriti perform all actions. What happens? People get deluded, so we forget this reality, that it is Prakriti that performs all actions. And they think, I am the worker, I am the doer. Needs a lot of explanations. Prakriti has got two meanings in this particular context. One is the external nature, the nature that we see outside with the phenomenal world. That includes all these terrible pandemics or epidemics, all these problems, part of Prakriti. When we violate nature, the nature retaliates. As a result, a lot of problems occur in this world. But there is another meaning to the word Prakriti. The Prakriti here can also mean the human intelligence, the human consciousness, not Atman. So, if we take the former view, if we interpret ourselves to be an evolute of Prakriti, just a product or byproduct of external nature, if a human being looks upon himself as a part of the creation, the external creation, just like animals, plants, different species, so also human beings, then we are actually denying our spiritual dimension. So Lord Krishna in 2 verses gives 2 different dimensions of human nature. Here he says, Prakritehi kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasakha. Our actions are prompted by Prakriti. And Prakriti as a human nature, human character, expresses through 3 different characteristics: Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And all our actions, our thoughts, our ideas, our behavior patterns, the way we respond to external nature, the way we interpret our own life, depends upon how we look upon ourselves. So, and at the external level, at the psychological level, our mental constitution or character consists of these 3 dimensions: Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Of the 3, the highest is Sattva-guna and the lowest is Tamoguna. Tamoguna corresponds to inertia, inaction, ignorance, delusions, misunderstanding, inability to understand things properly. That's what is meant by a statement like this person is dominated by tamoguna. That means inertia, inaction, laziness, ignorance, and so on. Then there is a higher nature than tamoguna, that is called rajoguna, where there is a lot of action, enthusiasm. There is a a inherent quest for freedom. The freedom is not easily attained, but there is a desire for freedom. Lot of actions. So there is a tamoguna because there is not a realization of the highest. But there is also rajoguna because there is a lot of action. Those who are of an active nature, active temperament, physically, mentally, intellectually, always active, dynamic, enthusiastic. That is certainly much better than tamoguna. And the highest level is sattva-guna, which is dominated by understanding, knowledge, maturity, wisdom, common sense, a kind of spiritual common sense, a settled view. We don't act out of the way, but we are not inactive either. So we're controlled, restrained action, restrained by wisdom. So activity controlled and restrained by spiritual wisdom. That's what you find in Sattva-guna, because Sattva-guna eventually evolves into the highest spiritual culture, spiritual quality. So Lord Krishna says that all our actions are normally guided by or prompted by any one or all the three of these characteristics. So you can easily judge human temperament. It is so universal. There are people who are naturally evil. There are people who are naturally good. So there is an inherent constitution of tendencies and impressions which these individual jivas, they carry from life to life. Whatever actions we do, those actions create a residual effect called vritti. It becomes a samskara, a tendency. It becomes a vasana, a natural aptitude for certain things, a desire to do certain things, which leads to similar actions or opposite actions. Now, these tendencies, these impressions are not gathered in one life. Vedanta and Sankhya, Yoga, Buddha philosophy, all these philosophical systems share a similar view with regard to human nature. What our mind is doesn't depend upon our experiences in this life. The mind has gathered a lot of tendencies, good and bad tendencies, impressions, and attitudes from previous life cycles. And these attitudes prompt us to move in a particular manner, to act in a particular manner, to speak in a particular manner. We can change our mind, no doubt, by engaging in good actions which create spiritual energy which will help us to evolve to a higher level from tamoguna to rajoguna and to sattva-guna and so on. So Lord Krishna says, frequently people forget this. They say, Prakriti kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvasaka. All actions, all activities, so not only physical actions, the way we think, as I mentioned, the way we speak, and our attitude towards ourselves, the way we view life as a whole, all depends upon these inherent tendencies which are accumulated in the mental system called chittam. So this is a wheel that goes on rotating from life cycle to life cycle. Karma, action, then creates a vritti, a vasana, a samskara, a sankalpa, and again leads to action. Whatever we do, with conscious effort, I am doing this, I am the doer, and I want to enjoy the benefits of these actions. Such an action will produce a residual effect called vritti. And that will create a tendency samskaras, vasanas. So this goes on rotating. It's called karma, vritti, samskara, sankalpa, vasana, chakram. It is called a wheel that consists of these different elements. Action is a result, is tendencies, impressions generated by these actions, and so on. And they remain accumulated in the mental system. Some of the most subtle tendencies are accumulated, and they may express maybe after several life cycles. They remain accumulated in the karmashaya. Some of the tendencies can express themselves in this life. So Lord Krishna says, this is the reality, but people forget this. So what happens, when we forget this, we interpret everything that happens in our life as if it is something permanent. So every little problem, or even little or small or bigger problem, all problems are taken to be very serious, permanent, everlasting problems. And at that moment, we forget that they are all momentary. Why? Because I am the one who did everything. I am the one who is doing everything. It is my accumulated samskaras, impressions, that are responsible for my actions. That is forgotten. So when we interpret ourselves to be the psychological being, then we say, karta aham iti manyate. Those who are deluded, those who think of themselves to be an evolute of Prakriti, they think that I am responsible for everything. So every big event will be enough to take us away from our moorings, from our roots. Lord Krishna says, this is one view, and this view is wrong. Then what is the opposite view? The opposite view is given in the 30th verse. So we have to remember the 27th verse refers to a person who believes that he is an evolute of Prakriti, and he is just like he identifies himself with all the samskaras which are really responsible for his actions. So he takes every event as if it is permanent. So that view is contrasted with another view. There is a view of an enlightened person, a spiritually enlightened person. So in the 30th verse you find, Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chedasa dirashihi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Here Lord Krishna says, you renounce all actions to me, dedicate all your actions to me, with your mind completely focused on me, and be free from selfishness. And here there is a word, yudhyasva vigata jvara. Yudhyasva actually means fight. Here it is not battle that is meant. Fight means go ahead with your life. Go ahead doing your duties and responsibilities. Go ahead facing obstacles and difficulties in life. That's the meaning here. Yudhyasva. That's the meaning. Now, an enlightened person, he understands that he has a different higher dimension. He is the Atman. He is not this physical body. If we interpret ourselves to be the physical body, then we are very small. We are part of evolution, part of nature, part of the phenomenal world. We are not very different from the animal kingdom if we interpret ourselves to be part of the lower Prakriti, the lower nature, the nature that evolves, that the physical body, the tendencies, the mind, and so on. This all constitute part of nature according to Sankhya philosophy. Prakriti is the source of evolution according to Sankhya philosophy. So that idea is taken here. From Prakriti, Mahatattva comes. Mahatattva is the cosmic principle. Ahankara comes. From Ahankara, our mind, senses, and from Tanmatras, from there the entire 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhutas, the phenomenal world, all these evolve one after another. So our actions, our ideas, our mind, all part of nature. This is Sankhya philosophy, not Vedanta philosophy. Vedanta philosophy does not fully accept the Sankhya view, not the Sankhya conclusion only, that some of the minor aspects of Sankhya are fully accepted in Vedanta, but not the conclusions of Sankhya. So here, where Sri Lord Krishna is referring to certain people who believe that we are all part of nature and we are nothing beyond nature. We are just an evolute of nature. If we interpret ourselves to be an evolute of nature, then the smallest problem can be a very big catastrophe. If we can interpret ourselves to be something that goes beyond nature, that is the transcendental reality, Atman, then we will be able to watch all these problems as if we are a witness, without participating in the drama of tragedies and problems. We will work hard to solve the problem. We will work hard to confront the problem, to find a solution to the problem, but we won't be mentally stressed, we won't be shaken, we won't be devastated by the tragedies and difficulties that face human civilization, human culture from time to time. So that is the most practical aspect of Vedanta. So Lord Krishna says, Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyarma chetasa. So just remember, actions, good and bad, thoughts and ideas, all these are part of Prakriti. But I have something that goes beyond all this. If we can detach ourselves from nature, then only we really begin to grow. If we interpret ourselves to be part of nature, then we are part of the evolution, the flow of evolution. So after this, we will go to the 28th verse. Tattvittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartanti iti matva nasajjade. How an enlightened spiritual person, he looks at the world, looks at life and confronts the problems, how he views problems that frequently will have a devastating effect on common people who do not take a Vedantic perspective of life. Tattvittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayoho. Lord Krishna says, you should have the true insight into the nature of these gunas. Sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. Actually, if we analyze our own actions, if we analyze our own words, our own thoughts, our own ideas, we will be able to get an idea, a rough idea as to where we stand in this evolution of nature. Whether we have got Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna and Tamo-guna. And we can really engage in actions and thoughts and ideas. We can divert our energies into some creative, constructive channels that will help us to evolve further, to climb the ladder to higher levels of evolution. So how to evolve from Tamo-guna to Rajo-guna and eventually to Sattva-guna? It is possible. And also we will be able to get a philosophical view of life as a whole. That's why he is Tattvavid. Tattvavid is a philosopher, is an enlightened person, the one who knows Tattva, the one who has experienced the reality of life and existence. Such a person is called Tattvavid. And this is the path to freedom. If we interpret ourselves to be part of this evolving nature, that is a royal highway to perpetual mental slavery, spiritual slavery. If we interpret ourselves to be Atman, to be something that goes beyond evolution, beyond nature, then that's a royal highway to freedom and blissfulness. So that's a big question. Are we just a part of nature, or do we have something in us that goes beyond nature? Those who are not spiritually enlightened things that they're just part of nature. So long as we believe we are just part of nature, external nature, we cannot have permanent contentment in life. And every single problem in the external world will have a devastating effect on our life if we interpret ourselves to be a part of this evolving nature, to be an evolute of nature. Physically, we are an evolute of nature. And our ideas and thoughts we may have gathered as part of living in this world with this physical body, which is part of nature. But there is something within all of us that is a witness of this evolution of nature, that is a witness of nature, that transcends nature. And an enlightened spiritual seeker who understands that he is beyond nature is a witness of nature. He is not a part of, who realizes that he is not an evolute of nature. Such a person is called Tattvavid, the one who knows Tattvam, the one who knows the reality, the truth of existence and life. So Tattvavid Mahabhaga Guna Karma Vibhaga Yoho. So such a person will understand the characteristics, the dynamics of Prakriti, external nature. So if you meet a person who behaves in a bad way, you have to understand because he has accumulated in his mental system some unfortunate tendencies and impressions. That's part of nature. He is not able to outgrow that. That's why he behaves in a particular manner. If a person behaves in a very noble manner, that again is a proof that he has accumulated good impressions and good vasanas, good samskaras in his life. So you will be able to take a very philosophical view of life as a whole, and then the worst tragedies, including these terrible pandemics, can be taken in its stride. Not that we will become inactive, we will become very active, we will take every necessary step to confront the problem, to face the problem, to solve the problem, and we will do our best to save our own life, save other people's life, but at the same time, we will have in our mind the strong conviction, well, I am something that goes far beyond this external nature that is affected by this. So that is the relevance of higher philosophy in modern times. So a spiritual seeker who understands this dynamics of life as a whole is called Tattvavid. Tattvam veti iti Tattvavid, the one who understands Tattva, the reality. Guna guneshu vartande iti mattva na sajjate. Such a person is not affected by any of these things. Then 29th verse, Prakritehi gunasammudaha sajjande gunakarmasu tana krishna vido mandan krishna vidna vijalayet. Again, there is a further statement which affirms the attitude of an enlightened spiritual philosopher who looks upon life as a whole from a higher perspective. So such a person of perfect knowledge, his actions and words will be very, very mature, very settled views, and they should not try to unsettle the understanding of people without proper knowledge. This is a reference to 26th verse. So you often find in the Gita these cross references. So the 29th verse is a continuation of the idea mentioned in the 26th verse. And the 30th verse is actually a statement of the attitude, regarding the attitude of a Tattvavid, which is mentioned in the 28th verse. So this should be kept in mind. Now we'll go to the next verse. Ye ye madamidam nityam anudishtanti manavaha siddhavantu anasuyantu muchende tebi karmabhihi. Now Lord Krishna says, those who understand this truth and practice this truth with great shraddha, they will be able to live in the world, fully engaged in their actions and duties and responsibilities, facing problems, confronting problems, finding solution to the problems. At the same time, they will be fully contented, they will be happy within, even though they are externally, they are active, they are facing difficult times, still their mind will remain unaffected, their mind will be always in a contented mood. Who are those people who enjoy this state of spiritual contentment? Lord Krishna says, ye ye matamidam sarvam nityam anudishtanti manavaha. So it is a reference to the concept of yajña that Lord Krishna mentioned in the previous verses. Yajña here means living our whole life as an offering for the good of others, and also eventually for our own good. When we work for the good of others, that's the best way of working for our own good. So that's why Lord Krishna mentioned in the previous verses this yajña chakram. There is an interrelatedness, there is an interdependence in the whole creation. At the cosmic level, there is an interdependence. And in our own inner psychological level, there is an interdependence. It is called Rutam in the language of Veda. So when we direct our actions and thoughts and words without disturbing this inherent balance or inherent rhythm of the world, this interdependence and peaceful coexistence of the entire cosmos, then we will be able to enjoy life, because we will be able to live doing good for others. Such a life is called yajña. So that's why yajña vai sreshtatamam karma, a noble action done for the good of others and also eventually for our own good, is called yajña. Such a person will be living in close proximity with nature, with the entire cosmos, and he will have contentment within, and his presence will be a source of contentment for others. So this higher philosophy is a great help in modern times. So we will conclude now. We won't have interactions, of course, right now. But those who have listened to this talk, which will continue next week, next Friday, 7:30, you are most welcome to write the email address temple@svedanta.org. You find this address in our website, and also if you Google the Vedanta Society of Northern California, San Francisco, you can get this office address, temple@svedanta.org. If you write, I should be happy to respond to your questions and further discussions. Thank you. Namaskar. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.